Call this meeting to order. Eddie will have the open pledge allegiance here. Call for order for the forum. You're on.
I will pull one up.
I like that.
Which one? We want the $57 one or the
$123.
Freedom's free, you know?
Freedom's free?
There you go.
Okay, you know what we're gonna do? Well, alright. One.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, God, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, you got to choose some flags today. Whatever price you want to take. Okay. We'll start out with public comment. Anybody here would like to do it? More than happy to listen to you. You've got 3 minutes. You can pull out a form of the young lady over here. Where they have your name and address. Otherwise, do I see any?
Hey, Matt, did you want to call for?
Oh, okay. Well, I thought you were going to do that first. I didn't figure you did it. All right.
Okay, Matt Grossi,
Delighted to be here.
Barb Fenney. Barb,
He's here.
here, okay. Carly Borchard is absent, Bob Laurie is also absent, and Cameron.
Here.
All right, you have a form.
Good. We'll go ahead. Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes of our last meeting? 2023, whatever it is. If there's no changes, I'd like to hear a motion to approve. Motion approved.
Second.
That's first and a second. Everybody is in agreement. Say aye. Aye. Anybody opposing? We're on. Okay, we have public updates. Part of the safety. Sheriff.
I believe we have Truckee Meadows Fire online.
We should be out of the way a little bit.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
We can see you, or I mean, we can hear you, we can't see you.
Yeah, I don't have an option to turn my, oh, here we go.
How about now? There you are.
There we go. How's everybody doing tonight?
Great.
Excellent. My apologies for not being there in person. I mismanaged my time and didn't expect to have the freeway closed. So I'm joining you remotely this evening. For the record, Joe Shum, Truckee Meadows Fire and Rescue, giving you an update, public safety for your calls and call volume out in the Verdi area for the Truckee Meadows jurisdiction. Over the last 2 months, we've seen an average number of calls, 47 in January, 28 in February. That number is off just a little bit because we did experience a CAD outage. So there's some manual numbers being tabulated still as we speak. But nevertheless, there were no fires in Verdi in the last couple of months. EMS calls tend to be our most prevalent with 27 medical calls and 3 motor vehicle accidents. We did have 1 hazardous materials, which was a gas leak related. We had 15 good intent, and that totals 46 calls for the month. So really what I'm seeing and what we're seeing on the average out in Verdi is roughly that 35 to 45 calls a month. Some of that is up because of our auto aid to Reno, which better serves the public with some of that immediate need when they're not available or in the areas where our fire station is a little bit closer than theirs are. Other than that, our Our staffing remains full. We do have some anticipated retirements, and therefore we have some new hires that have hit the floor and are out in the field as we speak, completing what we consider to be their fourth ride time. We had 5 recruits graduate the academy successfully, and they're out in the field now, finishing up their training, and it will be seamless operations from there. We do have some promotions that are occurring based on a recent battalion chief retirement. So we did promote a battalion chief behind, which ensued gave us a captain promotion, an engineer promotion. So we're staying busy on the front of development and hiring. We do have our open recruitment right now, looking to fill what we anticipate to be about 6 to 8 slots come in the fall. So we are starting that recruitment process now. That way we stay ahead of the curve. Safety wise, we'd like to remind folks with all the snow and rain, obviously remain vigilant. We could be seeing some mudslides, especially in the burn scar areas, but in some areas that we normally do with some of the loose rocks and impediments falling down. This is the time of year to change those smoke detector batteries. Remind everybody to change those. And if your detector is greater than 10 years old, you should really replace that whole smoke detector because the device inside of it that detects smoke goes bad. So other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions concerning anybody here? Crowd control or anything?
Just a personal question for the record, Cameron Cranley.
Got one, Joe.
Sorry.
I just wanted to let him know you're talking.
My wife and I are thinking about taking out our heating oil tank and replacing it with potentially a cistern for fire prevention. Is that something that you'd be able to use, and do you have an ideal size, if so?
Cisterns are actually kind of difficult for us to utilize just because it requires a special hookup and drafting. You can contact the fire prevention division. They generally have some things that they can point you to in relation to the code. It might actually impact, I can't speak for sure, but sometimes it does impact your homeowner's insurance out there in lower hydrated or non-hydrated areas. But it is actually pretty difficult for us to access cisterns just because of usually where they're at, and the care and maintenance and upkeep of those. Sometimes we end up with more loose things or clogging our pumps and does more harm than good in a lot of those. We rely pretty heavily in Verdi on the water tender shuttles, the portable pump, and the canal and river should we need it. But you can reach out to fire prevention and they can point you in the right direction for what the building codes say.
You have the project.
Yes, and by the way, your microphone is cutting off. You only hear about 3/4 of what you're saying.
Probably the same with us. Are you getting us clear, Joe?
I am getting most of you, but not 110%.
We're about the same, so we apologize, but I think you basically answered the question, so thank you. Anybody else? Well, Joe, thank you so much for checking in under the weather and everything, and we appreciate it. And thanks again, and we'll hope to see you next month.
Okay, sounds good. We'll see you next time.
We got a lady here that wants to.
I do have a question from L. Cook.
Hi, can you hear me?
Sorry.
This is actually Sergeant Cook from the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. I'm trying to get my Zoom to work.
Are you able to share your screen?
Can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, it's kind of cutting in now, but we can hear you.
And then the bottom left.
This is Sergeant Cook with the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. I'm just trying to get my Zoom to work.
Okay, no problem. We can hear. Oh, there you go.
There we go. Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt him.
Oh, you're fine. We are ready for the sheriff's office update. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties.
I'm
Good
sorry, I didn't see
afternoon.
your hand up either, so I apologize.
You can still hear me?
Yes,
Okay. The sheriff's office just wants to remind our citizens that as the weather warms up, we are seeing some increase in vehicle burglaries at trailheads and areas where people are leaving their cars and going hiking. So we encourage people to not leave valuables inside their vehicles in plain view or otherwise, because we are seeing an uptick in vehicle burglaries. Other than that, we are just encouraging people to drive safely and not drink and drive for this St. Patrick's Day. And that is all we have for the sheriff's office.
okay, we'll see if we have any questions. So we'll go to the board first. Any questions from the board?
One question about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, there was some sort of incident on Highway 50. It started probably 3 in the morning and went to about 5. And there were bright flashing lights that kind of lit up our living room, even though we're, you know, easily a mile away. Do you know if there's some sort of standard process in terms of how long the lights are usually turned on, or is it something where you have to do it until an investigation is complete, or is it just that they weren't thinking that it might be people's living rooms are lighting?
I would say I'm not aware of the incident, but a lot of times the lights are left on the cars because they are causing some sort of traffic hazard. And so we want to make sure that people don't run into us, or if we have a vehicle stop, that they aren't running into people, or if there's people in the road, that those people are safe as well. So those lights inform other people and other drivers that there is a police presence there and that something is going on.
Thank you.
Okay. I didn't see the other hands on this one. Looking at it right. Okay, all right. Anybody from the audience that might have a question for us? Looks like we're in pretty good shape. Thank you for your report, the updates, and we'll hope to see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Yeah. I see Bob is on Zoom. You got him for attendance?
Yeah, let the record show that Bob Lori is online.
Okay, good. Okay, sorry. That takes care of the subject. Public subject updates. County manager, big time tonight, Mr. Brown.
Yes, good afternoon, good evening. I have the slides, please. So this evening, I want to share with you, as I do every year, during the first quarter, I usually get around to all the CABs, provide an update on what the county's accomplishments have been over the past year, and then also share what the direction has been from the commissioners as far as key priorities for the year ahead. So these slides are a summation of presentations that have been given to the Board of County Commissioners every year. In first meeting in December, Washoe County, because it's the closest to my anniversary date with the county, by statute, we have to have a public performance review. And as a part of that, there is a summary of what the accomplishments have been. I want to be clear, when I talk about accomplishments, I didn't do all this stuff by myself. These are accomplishments by the county organization as a whole. The county believes in and engages every year in a pretty comprehensive strategic planning process. Some organizations do strategic plans every 5 years or every 3 years. We do rolling strategic plans. So every year, usually at the end of January, we will have a workshop with our county commissioners, who are the elected representatives from the county, obviously. And in that workshop, again, we review what has been accomplished since the prior year meeting. And then we tee up discussion of certain topics that we've heard about from the CABs, from the commissioners, from the public, to get the commissioners' input on what they see as the key priorities for the county going forward. So what I'm going to show you tonight is what the current priorities have been established. All right, so let's get started. Thank you. So I'll just say that fiscal year 2025 is going to be a year of following through on prior priorities. And you see there in parentheses the three big priorities that the commission has directed staff to focus on. Number one is seniors, and that's our seniors facilities around the county, as well as the programming, the things that we do in those senior centers to address their needs. Mental health. A year ago, actually, for the first time, the county commissioners directed staff that they wanted Washoe County to take the lead role in this region to improving our mental health infrastructure. All of you know that mental health is an area of great challenge in this state, particularly for our juvenile youth, our kids. This is a state that is still shipping kids out of state, in some cases to receive moderate to severe mental health support. So a year ago, the commission established they wanted the county to take a lead role in addressing those needs, and you're going to see some of the things that we've done. And then infrastructure is the third big category. We're coming off a period where we had a lot of federal money for infrastructure because of the prior administration's investments in roads and bridges and waterworks and those kinds of things. We do recognize that we have some financial headwinds in front of us. We're starting to see the revenues, which for the county are primarily property tax revenues. And the second largest category is C-tax revenues, which is largely sales tax, all some other things. Property taxes are the more stable of the two revenue streams, and they continue to do well. But the C-tax revenues have flattened in the last year, and that is causing all of the local jurisdictions, City of Reno, City of Sparks, and the county, some challenges in terms of staying ahead of our expense growth, which in some cases is growing faster than our revenue. That's obviously not sustainable. So we are focusing our organization on managing expenses, which we can control, and until such time as the revenue picture improves. Next slide. All right. Having said that, Washoe County is in a strong financial position. We do have a structurally balanced budget today. Moody's increased or improved our bond rating. So we're just below AAA, which is pretty darn good for any local jurisdiction. We had a clean audit again this year, which you should expect us to. I'm not bragging about that, but it's a fact. Beyond that, the board was able to approve all of our collective bargaining agreements for all of our employees' associations. And what's unique about this year is we got 4-year terms, which we've never had. They're generally 2 to 3 years, but we were able to reach agreement with our associations for 4 years. That gives us a lot of stability about what our largest expense category, which is our people, will look like over the future. And again, that's something that we haven't had, at least in my tenure here. We also have received GFOA awards for our budget presentation. and our budget book, which has been an amazing tool for someone who never had a chance to read it. If I get a copy, take a look at it. Later, actually in the first week of April, we will be implementing a new tool for transparency into our finances, and it's called Open Checkbook. We're going to actually call it Washoe Checkbook. Open Checkbook is the name of the vendor. It has been their platform has been installed by the state Comptroller's Office. One of our commissioners, Commissioner Andriola, took note of that and brought it to the attention of staff. And, we've been implementing it and will be effective for the new fiscal year. And it starts in July. Next slide. In terms of vulnerable populations, a lot of what the county does is deal with our safety net populations around the county, like homeless, seniors again, folks who are disabled, veterans, etc. We did complete our CARES campus construction, and as you all know, the CARES campus is our largest shelter. It's one of 3 facilities that we operate, the others being Our Place, which is a facility over on the NAMS campus for women and families, and then we have a Safe Camp, we call it, which is a facility adjacent to the CARES structure that is for individuals who do not want to go into a congregate shelter environment and want to be make commitments to addressing their own situation. If they can do that, they stay in a more private setting at the Safe Camp. All right, we got $20 million in state funding for affordable housing at the CARES campus. So adjacent to the CARES shelter, big white building. If you were to go there today, you would see there is a 50-unit apartment complex we're building with the $20 million we got from the state for what we call supportive housing. Supportive housing is for folks who are generally 0 to 80% of median income for the area. These are people who may actually have incomes, they're working, but they may be still recovering from substance use or have some behavioral health issues. They're not quite ready to go into housing on their own. That's what we call support housing. So what we see in the supportive housing environment is caseworkers, therapists, those kinds of things to help these folks make sure that they continue on a stable path and can move on to more permanent housing. That will be the focus going forward, not building more shelters. It will be finding a place for people who have jobs but need affordable or supportive housing so that we can relocate. We did relocate our men's Crossroads program, which is another very, very successful program for men with substance use, and we're opening a family version. So up until now, if you were an adult male and you had a substance use issue and you agreed to enroll in the Crossroads program, which means you have to agree to work and you have to stay sober, that's great, but what if I've got a wife and kids? Up until now, they've not been able to stay with me. Now that'll be an option for some segment of these folks. The last bullet point, sequential intercept behavioral health model. It's a bunch of fancy words for we're going to treat. Sequential intercept is a model that was premiered down in the city of Miami, down in South Florida. And they had a situation where they didn't have adequate behavioral health capacity for folks who either had been incarcerated or were coming out of incarceration. So they took a wing of their jail and they devoted it to providing mental health services for these folks. That goes against the traditional wisdom, because the traditional wisdom is you can't treat somebody for mental health issues in a jail, in incarceration. And that's great if you've got another place to treat, but if you don't, Miami proved it can be an effective way of treating these folks to the extent that they were able to actually close that jail because of the improvement in being able to return people to stable lives. We've had dozens of folks from the county, from district attorney's office, the courts, our human services agency, our commissioners have gone down to visit and audit this model. It's a 3-day course they give. Sheriff's office, and so we're bringing it back here, and that is a key objective for the next year. Next slide. We've hired, so you all have read that the state of Nevada and other states have received opioid settlement money. Those monies in this state have been divided amongst 17 counties by an interlocal agreement that we've all agreed to. We over the past year have started actually distributing those funds for actual treatment of folks with substance use issues. We did an RFP, we had an action plan that was approved by the Board of County Commissioners. It's a lot of work that's gone into this, and we're really pleased with the progress we made. We also hired a behavioral health administrator. So I mentioned earlier that the board directed staff to do something to help improve behavioral health in Washoe County. Julia Ratty, who some of you may know, she's a former Sparks City Council member, state senator. She then came to work for the health district here during the pandemic, and has agreed to lead up the county's behavioral health initiative. She's our first administrator. She has also gotten an action plan approved by the Board of County Commissioners, and is taking the lead role also in helping us stand up the Washoe Behavioral Health Center, which is the old West Hills Hospital. And I think what you will see in the Behavioral Health Center is it will be a multi-use facility, but it will primarily be devoted to behavioral health services for our kids in our community, as I said earlier, but also for what they call subacute adults. So these are adults who generally are not dangerous to the public or anybody else, but they need mental health assistance. Think about any given night, we probably have 300 or 400 people sitting between our shelters, our county jail. These are people who, again, aren't generally a threat to the public, but there's no place else for them to go. And they need case management and behavioral health counseling and therapy. That's what we're planning to do with the Washoe Behavioral Health Center. And then we also are completing ambitious senior center upgrades. If you've been down to 9th Street, you'll know that right now the 9th Street Senior Center has been closed for about a month. They are doing a major remodel of it and upgrading the facility. And we've done similar upgrades in Sun Valley and at Sparks. We've also improved the programming, as I said before, by borrowing best practices from other communities. How are they treating seniors? Combat loneliness and mental health issues. Next slide. Innovative services. So all of you know, we had 3 elections in calendar year 2024. This is a community that it would be an understatement to say has not been happy with their elections experience. But we were able to successfully administer 3 elections, the first being the presidential preference primary in February, the second being the June primary, and then the November general election, all done successfully. We also, one of the reasons why we're able to do that successfully is we upgraded the staffing model. for our registrar of voters office. Historically, what we found after getting outside help to examine our election operations, we did not have adequate staffing. When I got here in 2019, 2020 elections, our registrar's office had about 6 full-time employees. After consulting subject matter experts, we found we should have been closer to 18 to 20. So we were burning through people because they were overworked. If they got sick, they didn't feel like they could take time off, all those kinds of things. And we were churning through a lot of people, which is a continual training challenge because you got to hire new people for your expensive. Now we've been able to get on top of that thanks to the Board of County Commissioners, which voted to staff the department properly. We're implementing what's called a top-down voter registration and election management system. This is being done through the State Secretary of State's office. The brand name of the platform is called No Ink, as you can see there, being used successfully all around the country. It's been used in Clark County, Las Vegas, for about 4 years. I think looking back, we would not have picked a year in which you're trying to conduct 3 elections to implement a new voter registration system. But honestly, the old system we were using was so old that even the vendors would not support it. It wouldn't come out and fix it. So we didn't have a choice. We had to cross the burning sands and implement the new system. And kudos to our team and our tech services group and the Secretary of State's office, because now it's in place, at least the phase 1 of it. And you'll see more enhancements to it over the next couple of years. This will improve our ability to manage the voter rolls. So the habitual complaints in this community about people receiving ballots, people that don't live in my house, or I didn't get my ballot, or the accusations of folks who moved out of state that are still receiving ballots. This system will help address a lot of that. So we're excited about it. And we did name a new registrar of voters. His name is Andrew McDonald. He comes to us with about 18 years experience between San Diego and Las Vegas, or Clark County. And he has hit the ground running, and we're happy to have him. Okay, other innovations. Last year I was here talking about the regional computer-aided dispatch platform. So this community, Washoe, Reno, and Sparks, have traditionally operated independent dispatch centers with software and equipment that did not talk to each other. So if an individual got into a car accident somewhere in Truckee Meadows and it was near the city of Reno, Washoe County line, you could have an ambulance that's closer to you, but it's on the other side of the line. The dispatcher had no idea that that was the case and could not necessarily route the closest vehicle to you, or fire truck if it was a structured fire. This system will allow us to clean all that up. It is on budget and on schedule to be implemented in September, meaning we'll have completed the implementation. It is also forcing a lot of discussions about how do we harmonize, I'll call it, our operations between Sparks Fire, Reno Fire, and Truckee Meadows Fire at RIMSA. And I would say it's also probably instigating some discussions about fire regionalization. This project is focused on dispatch, but we're already seeing that if we do this right, it will force some harmony and how we send trucks or ambulances to events and that kind of thing. So stay tuned, you'll hear more about that, I'm sure. Other technology implementations, development hub, which Alex goes through with each cab to show you what development activity is going on in your community. That's an example of technology we didn't have 4 years ago, but it's available so that citizens can see what's going on in your, not only in your community, but any other community around the county you choose to sign up for. E-comment is a tool that we use now. If you as a citizen can't come to the county commission meetings on Tuesday mornings at 10 o'clock, but you want to provide a comment on an item on the agenda, e-comment allows you to do that, and your comment gets provided directly to your commissioner and to all the commissioners so that they can see what the public's point of view is on various issues. You probably know we do virtual BCC meetings for our friends in Incline Village and Gerlach. That's a new development over the last year or so. And the last one is called Wordly. Wordly is an AI-fueled language translation tool. So if you are hearing impaired, let's say, and you're sitting in chambers or watching the Board of County Commission meeting, and you can't understand what's being said in spoken word, this tool will allow you to see the text as people speak, and it does so in a myriad of languages. It has been very well received by the hearing impaired and folks for whom English isn't their first language. And we're likely going to move it into other applications outside of the BCC, like the courts or other hearings that take place in various places. Next slide. Okay, so that's the past. Let's talk about the future. What are we going to focus on in the year ahead? First, there's been a lot of discussion over the last year about what are we going to do with the cabs. I'm here to tell you the cabs are staying. There has been discussion about making some changes in the configuration of the cabs or what locations will continue to have cabs. Tomorrow's Board of County Commission meeting, we're all actually opening up the ordinance, which covers the cabs, and you will hear for the first time, well, not for the first time, but you'll hear discussion amongst the commissioners about what their vision is going forward. But the cab programs in general are not going to go away. There may be some changes in the boundaries, how they work, and that kind of thing. Second, I talked about the computer-aided dispatch, so I don't need to belabor that anymore. I talked about Washoe Behavioral Health Center, which is the old West Hills. The fourth point on there has to do with broadband expansion in Washoe County. So the Nevada Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology, OSIT, has been working with us over the last couple of years to submit a broadband equity grant. I think it's to the Department of Commerce. We found out about 2 weeks ago that Washoe County, the state of Nevada was the third state to have our funding approved. It's about $48 million for Northern Nevada, so it's substantial. There are about 6 broadband providers who will be providing service here in rural and what we call underserved Washoe County. AT&T is on that list. Sky Fiber, which is a local Northern Nevada operation, is on that list. What's it called? The local phone company up in Red Rock is one of the recipients. Believe it or not, Amazon is on the list. So Amazon is getting into the broadband business. I cannot tell you how, but they are. So I don't know, maybe they're gonna hang something on the trucks that you see everywhere throughout Washoe County. But the good news is this money has a shot clock. So they can't just win the award, sit on it and not build it. They really got about 3.5 years to use it, or it goes poof. And so we're working very closely with the list of providers to and do whatever we can to make sure that they meet our requirements, but that we, the county, are clear about what the requirements are and make it as easy as possible for them to build out in a timely basis. Some of this, I should tell you, is wireless. I suspect that's what Amazon will be doing. The wireless, what they call fixed wireless technology, has advanced quite a bit in the last 5 years, where the speeds are comparable to what you can get with a wireline broadband connection. There still are potential issues with radio interference or weather, rain fade, snow fade, that kind of stuff. But it's a lot better than it used to be. Wireless works best when you have residential areas with big lots. So if you got a 10-acre property, parcels like up in Redmond, that's a good example. It's not really economical for a wireline. So we'll sort through it, but the good news is it's coming. You're going to see us focus on emergency evacuation. So this is an area that we've heard from a lot of CABs and a lot of communities. People are concerned about, particularly when you see things like Palisades fire and the Eaton fire down in Los Angeles, or even our own Davis fire here in South Reno. Some of our evacuation plans have not been updated for that. So the communities admittedly have changed a lot in terms of growth, homes, and Kelly Echeverria, who is our emergency manager, will be working with the city of Reno, city of Sparks, to update the evacuation plans. We actually got about $185,000 grant from a private citizen who volunteered, stepped up to provide. So more to come on that. You may have heard FEMA is updating its floodplain designation. So similar situation, we have areas in the county where the floodplain maps have not been updated for 5 or 10 years. And we're starting with those areas of the county that tend to flood frequently, obviously. But we won't stop there. And these maps are a joint effort between FEMA and our own engineering department. So we don't. The last point I would just say is we're also looking into generating additional revenue from the county, for the county, from non-traditional sources. So if you look at how the airport, Washoe Tahoe Airport, is funding its expansion over there, which is fabulous. It's $1 billion in total. As an example, there's going to be a new ground transportation system. It's about $300 million. That is, if you look beneath the covers, it's actually being funded by the rail car companies. Okay, and it's complicated stuff, so I won't attempt to explain it to you because I'm not sure I understand it myself. But we're working with EDON and with the airport staff, as well as UNR, to figure out how do we harness some of the assets that the county has. For instance, we have vacant parcels that could be made available for additional housing, affordable housing. We have a desire on the part of some commissioners to see it in the courthouse downtown. But we don't have that kind of money lying around to write a check for the courthouse. But maybe if we took the courthouse property, parking lot that's across the street, which the county owns, 350 South Sierra, which is the building across the street from the library, that's where our Human Services Agency is officed, and the parking lot beside it, put all that in a big bucket, say, let's find a developer who wants to develop that section of downtown Reno and pay us 5% of whatever revenues they earn over 30, 50 of it. In broad strokes, that's how that would work. And we're looking forward to exploring those opportunities. That's other communities are doing that have a lot less to offer than this. Okay, that's it for me. Any questions for me?
Sure, let's, we'll start with the board first. If you have any questions you'd like to ask Mr. Brown, go for it. None here?
We met in Mobile with the fire department,
Trucking house.
Truckee Meadows, and of course, and I brought up the point that there are a number of vacant properties that are owned by homeowners associations that surround Mogul and are below Sunset, Somerset, and Sunset Bluffs, and also Sierra Canyon. And we like to know who is responsible for those properties. Because when you have a community that's in a bowl like Mogul is, and you have brush encircling you totally, it is a very hazardous situation, to the point where we have been coded out as high-risk fire. So some people are losing their insurance because they're not going to allow people to collect on anything that happens. So I guess my question is, how do we handle this? How do other communities handle situations like we have? With homeowner associations owning property and then leaving it to go to weed.
Well, did you get a response from that meeting with the Truckee Meadows?
No, it was just something that was brought out. Things don't seem to get resolved. We don't meet that often.
Yeah, so Truckee Meadows Fire is the right place to take the issue. I will follow up with Interim Chief Wade, it's his name, FBA1, see what's going on with it. Because essentially it ends up being a property rights issue of whoever owns the parcels you're talking about, whether it's an HOA or it's individuals that are not using that property. It's always a challenge to get them to pay attention, whether it's to illegal dumping, making sure that they're taking care of the property. But I'll follow up with Chief White for you and see if we can.
If you would, and then there are also private properties. I think Toll Brothers, is that? Yes, they own a property in that area. And so, it's a problem also where Mogul is an older community. It has 2 exits. And there's like something like 300 houses, and then Sunset Bluffs has no exits other than coming through Mogul, and they have 45 new houses up there. And so my concern on the big plane is that these developers are putting wonderful housing subdivisions in, but they're not putting in enough ways to evacuate. What's the word?
Excellent.
2 exits is not enough. So I don't know if that's something that needs to be addressed by the planning and zoning, or.
Yes, we would. And
yeah.
So here the question is the county or is it?
Well, in Mogul, we're in unincorporated. Reno, so
All right,
that would be the committee.
well, I can tell you that there is a heightened sense of awareness about fire danger. At the planning commission, certainly it's our plan. So we're not ignoring the fact that these are issues that have to be addressed.
Well, we want to address them before they become,
We do. But again, it's a property rights issue. You don't like it when you start telling. So, yes,
I'd like to add what Bob was saying, there's a big development happening at Gulchi Ranch, it's probably the biggest thing that's happening in the Red Eye area. It looks like there's even one road in and out. And a fire similar to the fire that we had a couple months ago, that could be a very dangerous situation. And I've looked at it a bunch of times, I've looked at a bunch of maps, and I only see one road there. It'd be great if before homes are built, if like an evacuation road could be added or something like that.
have they had a development meeting for that yet?
I don't believe so, but if they have, I have not been invited or aware of it.
Okay,
Um,
we'll check, because that's where you should raise those issues.
Okay.
And so we'll look into it and see if that's happened. Hasn't. If they don't, maybe we can hook you up with them, when it does happen. If it has happened, let's figure out how we can see.
The county has a real good program that they implemented like 2 years ago. That when you get a development, my understanding is everybody gets together.
Right.
And until everybody agrees, it doesn't move forward. And it's a great program. I'm sorry to see the city of Reno doesn't have it. It's been introduced, but county's done all the work on it, but I have to compliment them on that. We also have Bob is on our board, and then we'll go out to the public here. Bob, you have anything that you would want to, he's also a member of the committee here. Any comments at all? Or questions?
No comments, but thank you very much, Mr. Brown.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your time and service, sir.
I have a couple of comments and a couple of questions. I'm hoping that, are we all covered here?
Only other thing is, we really appreciate your work. I think Washoe is really lucky to have an executive of your caliber, as county director, we're super lucky, so thank you.
I've been involved in a couple of committees, or city projects with the county. One was the leadership training program, which has just been tremendous. If anybody hasn't heard about it, the county puts it out. It goes over 11 months, I think. This is one of the gentlemen that instigated it. So, you know, we got a lady here that was also part of it too, and it's well worth looking into. I was also involved. They started a new thing with the sheriff's department where it's sit along. You heard right along, you right along with the car. But I got an opportunity to do sit along to sit with the dispatchers. And another great program, I'll tell you, it really an eye-opener. I sat on a Friday night for 5 hours, and it was the best thing, that better than TV on Friday night, that's for sure. So I got that. I'm curious. I'm glad to see what's happening with the county as far as the seniors, as far as updating the facility. What's going on with the West Hill, the West Hill facility across the street that they're working on to just expand the program for the people over there. The money that you're accumulating from this, the drug program that came back from several different ways, what are you going to do with it?
So there's a whole action plan that's been written. It's on our website if you want to go check it out. That they issued RFPs a year ago, I think it was, to invite agencies, nonprofit agencies, whatever, to submit proposals that were scored by the drug treatment community. As I would call it, people who know about this stuff. And so that's the action plan that they're executing. It's everything before an award gets approved, comes before the Board of County Commissioners for approval. So, but there are a lot of different programs that it's pretty good. And there will be an update, I think this summer, it's usually July, August. Say, okay, since we were last here, here are the things that have been, new projects that are initiatives that have been. And here's the results, so.
Okay. To cut it short on this, we have a nationwide leadership program called Make America Great Again, which we seem to be cutting more than they're adding. Is the county doing anything that they're making, he's making you a little nervous on that it's going to be of any?
That's a good question. So I think a lot of people ask about DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. And I would tell you that the county isn't doing anything that would get us in trouble on those fronts. I tell you what we are doing is we are focusing on some areas where the county is not compliant with current law. As an example, Americans with Disabilities Act. Our facilities are not. County's facilities are currently compliant for people who are wheelchair bound, have mobility care. That's an example. Now, some people might have couched that under a DEI before. It's not really what it is. It's it's ADA. Thank you. What is it?
It's ADA.
Exactly. It's a Title VI. That's what it is. It's in federal law that you have. If you take government money, you have to do this stuff. You have to provide wheelchair access so that people can get to facilities and so forth. Wordly, which I mentioned in the presentation, that's a language access thing. So that, again, for people who don't speak English that well, English is their first language. They'll be able to better understand what's going on in the courtroom or in the chambers. Well, some people might consider that, well, are you doing that, from a DEI perspective? No. Language access, by the way, is a state law. So you see how it can get a little confusing, but the answer is no. We haven't changed our recruiting requirements to engage in affirmative action principles so that some people have a different standpoint.
I'm glad to see that the CAB is still going. I hope through the few of the comments were introduced into the information on how to what best you could do to empathize, a little more. I hope something is materialized out of it. This is a great program, and I think we need to go out. If anything, I suggested it on our program that maybe we're going to have to do some legwork and go out to the different HOAs in our county or our area and tell them what it is, because a lot don't know about CABs or the NAB, the Neighborhood Advisory Board. And I think that's where it needs, maybe it should start. But thank you for that. And now from the audience here, if anybody's got any comments and questions for Mr. Brown, go for it.
I've been following this guy all. He's been following me all. This is the last one.
But we're new at it, so we can ask the same question over.
You've had more than me. This is the 8th one, so I think I'm done. But anyway, I'll turn it over to him.
Good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for that. Sure appreciate it. We will go to the next agenda, which is the projects. It's just the regional transportation. That's what gets it. Never get.
All right,
You're on.
thanks for having me back. Been about a year since I was out here last time. We got some good updates for you. I think you guys will be happy to see what things we're doing. I'm Paul Nelson with the Government Affairs Officer at RTC. I also have Jeff Wilbert here, who's one of our engineering managers.
There's both of you.
Answer the tough questions. I can shovel on and off. Next slide. So who we are at RTC, we're made up of a board of commissioners, 2 electeds from the county commission, 2 from the city council of Reno, and the mayor of Sparks. Alexis Hill is our chair, Dana Reese is the vice chair. We've got Tracy Larkin Thomas that sits on as our ex officio director of NDOT, and Bill Thomas is our executive director. So building a better community quality transportation is our motto, and that's what we do every day. We've got 3 core functions. One, we are the metropolitan planning organization. So we do the short-term and the long-term metro planning. We also do engineering construction of our regional roadways, and we operate the public transportation system. So with public transportation, our fixed route transit is RTC Ride. This is the bulk of the backbone of our transit system. In the last 12 months, we've given nearly 5.7 million trips. 60% of those are work trips, so it's a very valuable resource for people that need to get to and from work to make a living. And we've also had 31 straight months of ridership growth, so we're really happy about that because, you know, operating a bus, it's going to cost the same no matter what, but the more people on it, we're getting more bang for the buck, basically. We've also got a 100% sustainable fleet. About a third of them are all electric. Most of them are diesel electric hybrid, and then we also have 2 hydrogen fuel cell buses. We've got 6 more that are on the way that should be here in the next few months. We're going to get those up and operating as soon as we have our permanent fueling facility in place. So bus rapid transit, this is what we call the BRT. Virginia line is, this is by far our busiest line. You can see it's almost 1 million rides in the last 12 months. The Lincoln line is our second busiest with more than 450,000 rides. The nice thing about these 2 routes is it's our poor man's version of a light rail, because so every 10 minutes we'll have a bus show up. We've got nice shelters that are set up, and I'll talk about some of the improvements we're making to this a little bit later on. But yeah, the frequency is great because if you're not in a hurry, but you have to miss the bus, 10 minutes later you get another one on the way. Microtransit. This is something that is really impactful up here in the Bird-Eye area because this is our version of Uber and Lyft. You can call up and it's our on-demand curb-to-curb service. Call them up. Approximately 20 minutes later, we have one of these cutaways that'll come and pick you up. We've got 4 zones. This is really in areas where we don't have enough demand to have a fixed route. There's just not enough people for it. So this is our alternative. So we've got Sparks, Spanish Springs, North Valleys, Somerset and Bird-Eye, and South Meadows. So if you go to the maps, you can see it doesn't really look like it on the map, but Somerset Bird-Eye is really one of our largest flex ride zones because it stretches from Rancho Zona Park all the way over to the state line. And so there's definitely a lot of area that we cover with the flex ride out here. You can go anywhere within that zone. And if you need to go farther, they'll take you to a fixed route bus stop and you can get down the road. A couple of good programs we have too is senior taxi bucks program. And this is for anyone that's 60 years or older, veterans or people with disabilities. They get a card and every month it'll download $60 onto it and they can use that for a taxi, they can use it for Uber or Lyft, and they can use it till it's gone. Following month, it downloads again. Another one we've got is the van pool program, which is carpooling for people that live and work in the same areas. So if you got a group of 5 to 15 people that live up here in Bird-Eye, they can get a van pool and they can commute to wherever they're working, whether that's Truckee, Prick, Soonerville, Carson City, Lake Tahoe. We've got a fleet of about 340 vans. We're about number 6 in the country right now, which is pretty impressive with our population, but we've got a very spread out economic base with a lot of different areas where people are going to travel to work. In 2024, this program saved more than 20 million miles. So it's getting a lot of traffic off the roads and a lot of pollution off. So next steps with public transportation, fewer people are using cash. So we're going more towards a cashless system. So you can do that in a number of ways. We have kiosks that you can get your ticket at our 2 main bus stations. You can also purchase it on your phone with the transit app. You can also, we're going to be installing these tap and pay systems. So you can use either your card and tap it on there, your prepaid card and tap it on there, or eventually even use your credit card or debit card and just tap it, just like you do when you're out shopping. We're also going to be upgrading our software for FlexRide and Access. So the Flex Ride bus that I showed you, the Cutaway, it's the same model we use for our paratransit. But so let's say somebody got dropped off out here in Verdi, using an access. But somebody else called for a Flex Ride. Makes a lot more sense if somebody can, if that vehicle's already out here, they can just go pick them up. So we can intermingle the two. You know, it's the same system. We won't forego paratransit or Flex Ride, but if it's available, it just makes sense. Planning. So just a couple of weeks ago, almost a month ago, our board approved the regional transportation plan. This is the 2050 update. So this is our long range transportation plan. It looks 25 years in the future, asks a lot of different things from the community, from stakeholders, how we want our transportation system to look. Last year when I was out here, I was asking you guys to participate in a survey that we were doing. We used that kind of input to put this together. Every project that we do starts in this book, and eventually we get down to our 5-year plan, and a 2-year plan, which is the interlocal agreements, and then we start putting shovels in the ground and getting to work. So something that we recently did was the active transportation plan. And one of the things that came out of that was our neighborhood network plan. So what we did was we broke up the entire region into 12 different neighborhoods. We're going through each neighborhood to look at ways that we can improve the infrastructure for pedestrians and for bicyclists, whether that's making them comfortable, safer, you know, things like crosswalks, sidewalks, bike paths, anything we can do to make your neighborhood better in terms of transportation that's not in a car, just to make things safer and better. You know, think about if people want to ride their bike to the grocery store, something like that. We're looking at ways we can improve that. Kids want to walk to the park, all that kind of stuff we're looking at. So the first area that we talked to was Region 9 right there in the middle. There was a scoring system that we looked at. I don't know exactly how the scoring system works, but number 9 came in number 1. So we had a couple of meetings there. We had a couple of Sparks, and now we're moving on to Sun Valley. I don't know where Verdi ranks. So over there you see number 4. I think it's on the list actually. No, that's not the rankings. But anyway, eventually we're going to go through all 12 of these neighborhoods to figure out the best way that we can infrastructure from that side. So engineering. In fiscal year 24, we invested more than $81 million, and that's important because it puts people to work. More than 2,600 jobs in construction. So some of the projects that we recently completed out here in the Somerset Verdi area was just last fall, Somerset Parkway corrective maintenance. So this was a 4.2 mile project between Mayan and Del Webb Parkway, and it's this is where we call it no influence, where you take that top layer of pavement off and you come back and you lay down new asphalt. It takes a lot longer than you would expect because there's a lot of manholes along that road. So you got to lower those utilities, take the pavement off, and when you're done, you got to raise those utilities back up. So it is a process to get all that taken care of. But once they started paving, they really cruised through. It was a pretty good project. You can see the construction projects there, and then the 2 after pictures going their own right. Last year I told you about our bridge projects. Well, we're finally going to break ground on the Arlington Avenue Bridges replacement. This one is a structurally deficient bridge. One was built in 21, one was built in 39. And so this one here, we're really excited. May 5th is when we're planning on starting the construction. We were able to get this down to 1 construction season, so it'll take 1 year to build this project. On the next slide, you'll see that we went out to the community and we asked for their input on what they want this bridge to look like. Because this, yeah, the main purpose is transportation, but there's a lot of recreation in that area and people want their downtown area to look nice. So you can see the tall end pylons, custom lights on the overlooks, all metal railing. This bridge will be a single pier instead of a 2-pier. There's also going to be some changes to the geometry of the kayak park, more than likely. The guy that designed the kayak park is going to come in and look at that so that you're not going to fly right into that pillar. So the currents are going to be changing a little bit, so that'll get fixed too. We're also going to keep that path that goes underneath the North Bridge there. After that project's done, we're going to start on Sierra Street Bridge. So hopefully next year, we're going to knock this bridge down and put a new one in. We did the same thing. We went out to the community. That picture on the right is a rendering of what the community wants the bridge to look like. Again, this is going to be a single pier bridge. It's another bridge that's structurally deficient, and if you look at the one on the left, you can see it's showing its age. There is some concerns whether or not it can really withstand a large seismic event and things like that. So it's just time to replace it. Another old bridge, 1937. So, like I said, once Arlington is done, start on Cedar Street Bridge. Both those bridges are both funded too. Keystone Avenue Bridge replacement. This one here is going to be the third one. We're hoping to break ground on this in 2027. This is the most expensive of the three bridges. One of the things that we really wanted to find out from the community was, do they want pedestrian and bicycle access on this bridge? Right now, there's not. It was designed in the 60s when really everything was built around the car. It's a 4-lane bridge. We're going to keep it a 4-lane bridge, but the community does want some access for people to ride their bikes and walk across this bridge. So we are working on different ways to fund this. We're looking at possible discretionary grants or some formula funding from the federal government to help us pay for this. Like I said, 2027 is what we're shooting for, possibly 28. Really important program that we have is the pavement preservation program. We spend about a third of our construction budget, pretty close to that, on our pavement preservation program, keeping good roads good. And this really saves us a lot of money in the long run, and it keeps our roads, the life of the road will last a lot longer because of it. So if you look at this example here, this is over in Sparks. On the left, you see where we put the patching and the crack seal down, and on the right is after we put the slurry seal and re-striped it. It really looks like a brand new road, and it really lasts a lot longer because of it. How many years we get out of something like this? Is like 4 or 5 extra.
Like 7-year cycle for slurry seal.
So that's an example of the preventive maintenance, the crack seals, the slurry seals, things like that. The other one is corrective maintenance, the one that just happened on Somerset, that's a corrective maintenance job. And then rehabilitation is basically when that road gets to the end of its useful life, but the materials are still good. So we can use those materials to lay down a new road. That's the most expensive of the three. Kind of goes in order. Preventive is the cheapest, corrective is a little bit more money, rehab is a little bit more money. Some upcoming projects, we also have bridge resurfacing. So we're doing 4 bridges this year: Coomsley Street, Evans Avenue, Valley Road, and Ralston Street. Coomsley Street, there's also probably going to be some upgrades to the sidewalk. There's some areas where it's getting a little crumbly. You can see a little rebar and things like that. So those are the 4 bridges we're moving for. Traffic signal modifications. So this is a program that we do where you can make upgrades to not just the traffic signals themselves, but also things like roundabouts and things like that. It's really improvements to intersections, I guess. One of the ones that we're working on right now that's underway is over there on McCarran 7. So what we're doing here is, you can see where that car is pulling out just down there. That's where people pull into that shopping center. Well, there's a bus stop right there. So that's not really the best place for that bus stop. So we're gonna move the bus stop down to the other side of where that car is pulling out. We're gonna put a crosswalk right out in that area. And we're also gonna put these new pedestrian hybrid beacons. So it's kind of the next generation of those flashing beacons that you see. These ones here actually have like a yield and a stop type of mechanism. They go when the button is activated. So this one's underway, and we think this is going to be a big improvement for traffic flow and for safety. Another one that's underway, this is an NDOT project that RTC funded. This is McCarran and Keystone Leadership intersection. They're installing a traffic signal there. You can see, I just talked to NDOT today. The utilities underground are all in place. The next steps are to install the traffic signals themselves and do the paving and the striping. That's going to be all weather dependent. She said that they expect probably in early to mid-May is when we'll see this really get back on schedule. BRT, I mentioned that earlier, so we're making some upgrades to this because back when we first started the BRT, we were using a lot bigger buses. That picture there on the bottom left, that ramp won't go all the way down. We're using smaller buses now. That ramp isn't flush with the platform. So some of the older BRT shelters that we have, we're going to lower that platform so that it'll make it a lot easier for people with disabilities if you have a wheelchair getting on the bus. And it's also better to decrease the chances of tripping hazards for people getting getting on and off the bus. If you look at that top left picture, those are mini BRT stations. That's right over there by the pepper mill. We're gonna get rid of those and put full-size bus shelters in place. Then over there on the right, we'll be adding a bus only lane between Peckham Lane and Plum Lane. That's also slated for this year. Another one that this one is the West 4th Street downtown, Keystone Avenue to Evans Avenue. This is really going to be making a lot of upgrades to like our transit stations, some lighting, pedestrian and ADA access. Looking at the intersection of Washington Street. This one here is it's really more of a safety type of thing than it is like an overhaul of the roadway or anything like that. But then on the next one, we've got another one on 4th Street. The next slide. This is the West 4th Street safety. So this one here is a rehab job where we looked at the corridor. There's a lot of speeding that happens there. And going along with rehabbing the road, we're making some improvements to reduce the amount of lanes, slow people down. We'll put a multi-use path in, and that will make things a lot safer for people that want to walk or bike. And then a couple of big things are roundabouts. We're putting in 2 roundabouts, one of them at the intersection of Stoker Avenue and one of them at Summit Ridge Drive. So another thing coming down the road next year is the biggest little bike network. This is, we found 4 different routes to really make biking and using scooters in the downtown area a lot easier for people, a lot safer, a lot more comfortable. Those 4 streets are Vine Street, Virginia Street, and Lake Street going north and south, and then 5th Street going east and west. This is really important to connecting people from, say, Midtown or Old Southwest or south of the river to get up through downtown and up to the university safely across Interstate 80. So this is a really exciting project that we're really looking forward to getting started. And this one here is really kind of a regional thing that we're looking at. So everyone that drives out on I-80 between Sparks and the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center has seen the amount of traffic that has been created with all the jobs out there. NDOT is widening the freeway eventually from 4 lanes to 6, but we know that that's probably not going to be enough. So one of the things that we're looking at is a couple of alternate routes. One of them is possibly going to go from La Posada and Spanish Springs down to USA Parkway. Another one would be South Meadows Parkway out to USA. We're also doing a feasibility study to see if commuter rail would be a viable option between Reno and Sparks and the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. Obviously, that would take a lot of traffic off of the roadway. Anytime there's bad weather or a crash, it's a parking lot, and it really takes a long time for people to get to work or to get back home. So that affects production. It also affects people from getting back to pick their kids up from daycare and things like that. Some possible funding, we're looking at federal grants, public-private partnerships. We're working with Story County, some of the bigger businesses out there, Lyon County, trying to find some solutions to this traffic issue. One of them you've probably heard about is possibility of a toll road. That was heard in the Growth and Infrastructure Committee in the Assembly just a few weeks ago. That would just really authorize a study to go forward to find out if it would pencil out to see if a toll road would really be a good way to do this, because it's a very expensive road and we're trying to find ways to pay. Revenues that we have in fiscal year 25, about 253 million. About 42% of that comes from fuel tax, 18% from sales tax. We do get some federal funding, about 28%, a little bit from passenger fees, a little bit from NDOT, and then some other sources we get for instance, one of them would be the RIF funding. So when a developer comes in, they have to pay approximately $5,000 per unit, and then that goes into a bucket of money to make infrastructure improvements that come with development. And on the expenditure side, you can see we're spending about $284 million, which is more than the revenues, but we've put money aside. We planned ahead knowing that we had a lot of projects coming down the road. So you can see about 30% of our expenditures that goes towards our bus system, our transit operations. New roadway projects, about 28%. preservation of multimodal, the amount that I was talking about with the keeping our good roads good, about 30% right there, and then debt service, a little bit of debt service, 8.1%, and then our operating is 1%. With that, I'll take some questions.
Okay, we'll go to the board first. Any questions from either one of you folks?
Well, I'm back to the old question, I'm sorry,
So go ahead.
pardon Benny. I'm back to the old question, probably when you were to the last time. Local is part of the bike path, and we have about a 25-foot drop off across the creek that is at Silver Ranch Road and 4th Street. One person has already been seriously injured because they missed the curve and he and his car crashed into the creek. What would it take to get 50 feet of guardrail to improve that? And that is part of the school bus line daily. So it's also an area that is lower, there's a hill, and that road comes around like this, and then around to Silver Ranch Road. There's the underpass to head eastbound, and then also there's the other road that takes you to the westbound lanes. So
That can lie between 4th Street and
4th, Silver Ranch, and the westbound overpass. And of course, we've got the train right there, you know, within, you will hear it when you go through the underpass. You don't, it's good. And so it scares the pants off of you, even if you've lived there for 20 years. That's like a massive echo chamber. But I'm really concerned because that is an accident waiting to happen. And it's been like that forever. So who would be,
So I got an idea where you're at. Is that county jurisdiction or is that NDOT's?
well, there's NDOT property around there. I have a 35-foot easement behind my house, NDOT. And if you continue down to the next property, then you're on Lemming Street, Lemming Road.
Okay.
And then there's the drop off at the creek. So,
Maybe I can give you my card and we can correspond about it. I don't necessarily have a direct answer of how best to solve that problem. In how RTC works, we work with our partners at City of Reno, Sparks, Washoe County, to then identify safety and traffic operation type improvements. It's hard to say without knowing more detail if that's a good candidate for that type of program. But if anything, I can kind of help orient you or point you in the right direction of how to kind of start to identify solutions.
yeah, with that hill, the hill that's on Lemming, people, when it's snowing, it gets icy, and those cars can't stop, they just start sliding. Well, it's that area. So, like I said, you know, it's, there you go.
Have you got anything?
The same intersection, by the way, is like the most scary thing I've ever tried to bike through, because there's a freeway off ramp. Sorry, my name is Cameron Crandall. There's a freeway off ramp, cars are going 40 miles an hour. As a bicyclist, you have to climb up the hill. And it's the reason why I don't like town, because I've done it a couple times ago. So just for what it's worth, that's that. Two other points. First off, when you have 40% of the budget from the fuel tax, is RTC looking long-term at identifying other sources of funding as more people buy electric cars? Is that something that you're thinking about, or is something not thinking about? A, and B, will I ever be able to take a bus to a ski? Will I ever be able to take a bus to a ski?
we have one commissioner who really wants us to look at that. We did a pilot project several years ago that took people from South Reno up to Mount Rose, Lake Powell, and there just weren't enough people that, so it didn't really work out. It was also a pretty heavy climb for a bus to go up. I wouldn't say no, you never know. But that's something that one of our board members definitely would like to see. The other question about other types of revenue. We've been looking at this for quite a while with trying to figure out a way, because EV drivers are using the same roads that traditional vehicle drivers are using, but they're not paying taxes to use the roads that people are using traditional car drive. So there's a lot of different ways that people can do with mileage-based user fees. One of the things that we're thinking might come down by the legislature this time would be possibly a flat fee. And it would be, I think it's around $161 to register your vehicle for the state. And then on top of that, we would ask them to allow the counties to pass an additional fee so that it matches up with what the average person pays in fuel tax in Washoe County. Because Washoe County pays more in fuel tax than Carson or Lyon County and places like that. So we would want the EV drivers to pay the same annual fee that people paying fuel tax would pay. And that's right around $250, $300 a year is what the average driver pays in fuel taxes. So we think that might be a viable option. It's also very political. We don't know how it's going to go. We don't even know if the legislature can bring the bill forward because the governor might not want to sign that. So we'll see what happens this session. And I know the federal government is also possibly federal.
Or thing for the record. The status of completing the bike trails around Reno is hit and miss. We have a nice one that starts out and then it stops and then it's, then right where I live, it's really a nice one. It's brand new. You guys did the road. Somebody did the road and did that, the new interchange of the local, and then going up Silver Ranch Road, non-existent. And then a nice bike trail, going over to Burdock. I think Burdock has a bike trail in the main highway, right?
It's just a main.
Like,
There's one intersection, it's a suicide intersection.
oh, yeah, that's.
No, it's not the roundabout's totally fine. It's where the 4th Street and I-80 and Mobile.
Yes.
You have to bike up a hill as there is a downward 40-mile-an-hour freeway off ramp. You have to cross the freeway off ramp. It's just scary.
I know, I would be.
Okay, we got,
but it's 7 o'clock.
we got 2 people right now that are got their hands up. Bob, for sure, who's one of the members. Bob? Sorry.
Hi, thank you. Appreciate the time. Question. What's the nature of the relationship of the interaction between your agency and a proposed development project? That is a developer required to come see you and get sign off regarding compatibility with their project and your active plan or long range plan? Do you communicate to the approval agency in regards to that compatibility? Do you have an opportunity to comment regarding any and all development projects?
That's my name's Jeff Over. Sorry, earlier, but we have no authority to approve or deny developments and space. So any kind of development comes through, has to go through their planning commission and development services processes. RTC operates in a support role to those development services groups. So when the development comes through, and just like you guys kind of see in the email to new development, here's what it's doing. We look at it for its kind of compliance to our plan. Our plan has lots of models. land use planning and all that kind of stuff. So we're looking at it for its compatibility to our long range model of land use and how we assume land use is going to impact roads and intersections and freeways, and that's good stuff. Similarly, that support role, we want to help that local jurisdiction planning organization from the technical side too. So a lot of times we'll review the traffic reports and have conversations with them and say, hey, this is what we see. It all really kind of comes back to that RTE, how RTC sees that vision of the future transportation network. Not necessarily a site development standpoint, but then how those trips leave that development, what roads they go on, what intersections they go through.
Okay, we appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
Okay, make a couple of comments here that,
Matt, we have
here,
Addie,
Rossi for the record.
we have Addie online as well.
Okay, she done.
Oh, you're right.
Okay, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead, Addie.
Okay, can you hear me good?
Yes.
Okay, my question is on the Gold Ranch overpass. It's been proposed to realign that overpass with Tree Lease Lane and put in a roundabout. So my question is, has there been any movement on that? And who can we as residents, who can we talk to about that?
I'm not familiar with the old ranch. You're talking about the one towards.
It's by the smoke shop.
Yeah.
Over here in Verdi, it's close to the smoke shop, Gold Ranch, and there's an overpass, obviously off I-80 onto Old Highway 40 that shoots up to the smoke shop and Gold Ranch. It was proposed that they're going to realign that with Tree Lease Lane.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that project at all. I do know NDOT is working on a big project in which they're going to be replacing lots of bridge structures along I-80. So it could be part of that project. That's not an RTC project, so I don't have any information. I'm sorry.
Would you have any contact for us at our NDOT?
Yeah, I would just start with if you would go to their website, start there. They're going to have that project listed. It's the Verdi Road I-80, I-80 bridges through Verdi.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mac Rossi for the record. I got a comment and a suggestion, several comments. Unfortunately, the one agency, which is you folks, that seem to coordinate the city of Reno, the city of Sparks, and NDOT, you seem to hear most of it. And, I'm a culprit of it because you got two of my projects up there. The Keystone McCarran, been working on it for 9 years, and it always seems like 8. But you've listened to me. You know it had to be done sooner or later. But I get the feeling sometimes it becomes so annoying. Just move it up to shut them up, if nothing else. And the 7th Street bus stop is the other one that you're working on. I have to thank you for your patience in listening to me and coordinating NDOT, City of Reno, and everybody else as well. Really thank you for that. And it's been really rewarding to see it finally. The bus stop is 6 years, but it's only seemed like 5, so it's not bad there. The other suggestion is there a chance we could put up roadblocks, anything coming into the county, that if you don't pay road tax, you can't drive on our roads? Because I've asked you before about electric vehicles, they pay no road tax. We pay what, 16 or 18 cents a gallon to the road service for maintenance, none of our gas tax.
Yeah, per gallon.
Per gallon, yeah, I'm not sure what it is, but maybe put roadblocks up. If you don't pay, you don't roll on. Thank you. But thank you again for your patience. And after all these years, I'm going this Friday to your meeting to thank you folks for listening to me for so long.
So we don't have a meeting this Friday, by the way.
Oh, you're not going to?
No, April is good the next quarter.
Oh, okay, so it'll be the last Friday of next week.
It'll be third Friday of April.
Third Friday, excuse me. Thank you again for that. And any other questions?
Anybody? with that?
Yes,
So,
yes. One more comment. Gentlemen, I live in the Sierra Canyon portion of Somerset. The resurfacing project was done in an outstanding fashion with minimal confusion, and it's kind of a complex project. And whoever you had contracted with to do that job, I would give them at least an A-. So very, very well done. Good job.
Yes, yeah, thank you so much for those comments, that's much appreciated, it was a good project.
so we've pretty well covered so far everything that's going on. We're on the agenda for the next one for any announcements from the board that need to be announced. Nothing at all. Okay.
Okay, Bart Penny, for the record, there's, thank you so much, guys.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. See you next month.
See you.
There's a bunch of questions about what's happening at the curb on 4th Street. There's a bunch of construction there, and now they've moved in big equipment. They're building a booster station to push water up to Sunset Bluffs. And Sunset Bluffs is that subdivision that was built a couple of years ago. It's like 43 or 47 houses that are up there.
Okay, is this an announcement or just a question?
It's just an announcement.
Okay, so there's gonna be something going on with it, or?
It's been going on and now they brought in big equipment. So people who are coming around that curve at the very end of 4th Street, as they approach Silver Ranch Road in that area.
That's probably something that RTC may have been able to address or at least give you direction for.
I think it's the city, it's not the city, it's probably the county.
Okay.
But it's just a warning to.
Okay, you got a card from him, maybe you can address that with him on that. Any other announcements? None showing any, we'll move on to general public comment. So if you just line up in this area, you can take it one at a time. I don't see any. Okay, so our next thing is we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got that covered too. We're out of here. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Join on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, no doubt.
Good evening.
Thanks, Bob. See,
I
good luck.
have,
Good luck with your surgery.
yeah, thank you. I have a complaint.
Okay.
Well, the meeting's closed. You can't talk anymore.
The way the camera is situated, there's a terrible glare off of the vice chairman's head. So I don't know what you can do about that.
That hurts. That hurt. Sorry, we can't put that in the meeting. Too late.
It's on the front of your head, it's not on the back.
Have a good night, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.